Hi, Kaylee.
Hi, Janan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I am super excited for our conversation today because kind of for the first time we're dipping our toe into the meetings and conventions and sales market a little bit more than leisure. So that is an exciting turn of events for us. And I know we both love working with our meetings and convention sales clients and working with our two synergized teams. So this is going to be a really fun conversation.
Yeah, meeting sales, meetings marketing, and meetings and conventions is something we've been focusing on, within our company, and within, the projects we've been working on this past year, past couple of years actually. So I think getting to highlight that today and, not only give space to talk about it, but even just sit and listen. There was some really great takeaways, but I know they talked about, something else. Do you want to go into that a little bit before we get into the episode?
Yeah, so we are meeting with some folks from the great state of California to talk about their DMO Tourism Alliance that they do in the state. I believe that is the only state DMO alliance that exists. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Please correct me. But this was a very exciting conversation, and we hope you all get inspired and maybe have some ideas on how you can work closer with your other state DMOs after this conversation.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Sturgisich, and I am the National Sales Director for hotel sales for Los Angeles Tourism, as well as I'm currently the president of the California DMO Alliance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob, and I am the Director of Group Business with Visit California. Been with the organization for a little over 3 years now, and have been able to partner with the California DMO Alliance along the way to sort of amplify and support their efforts as they're bringing business into the state.
Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica Rivera. I am the Director of Convention Sales and Services for Visit Sacramento. I've been in my role about 10 months, and as one of the co-founders, it has been wonderful to continue to see and grow the California DMO Alliance with such a great team.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I know in our intros we teased a little bit about the California DMO Tourism Alliance. Can you guys share a little bit more for our listeners about what that is and maybe a little bit of the origin story there?
Well, the origin story, I will defer over to Veronica because she is the originator in chief. But as I mentioned, I am the current president of the California DMO Alliance and have been for the last 2 years almost. The real effectiveness of our alliance is it actually started as the Western DMO Alliance, if you remember that, Veronica. But we ended up growing exponentially, and a lot of that was very organic because it was DMOs talking to each other, and they had found out about this new grassroots organization that was founded out of the pandemic. We all just kind of came together. There was just a handful of us, and we came together to talk about, hey, how are you guys getting through this? What's going on with you? What is your messaging? And we were kind of talking ourselves off the ledge in many cases because it was rough. California was the last state to open during that pandemic, and Los Angeles was the last city in the state to open. So we were all kind of conversing and counseling and getting each other through it. And from that, we formed a board. Within that board, we had someone who delved in membership, and truly two people actually that expanded our horizons and reached out to as many DMOs of every size, really between San Francisco and San Diego. And I'm going to defer the rest of the story to Veronica because she and Susie K founded this organization, and we're so grateful for it.
Yeah, as Karen mentioned, I don't think Susie K or myself had any idea where this fellowship would really go, and that's really what it started as, is a fellowship with only 10 DMOs on that very first call. And we have now been hosting monthly calls for the last 6 years. And from where that has started to where it is now, we now bring in guest speakers. We talk about industry trends and best practices, where in the beginning it was really just a shoulder to cry on and an opportunity to have someone else read the COVID guidelines along with you, because I remember reading them, over and over again and being like, I have no idea what that means. So that's how it started, and that's kind of how we've grown. And by no means did we ever think it would grow to where it is today, representing, I think it's over 56 destinations with about 100 plus members throughout the state of California.
And I'll add to that, even though I'm not an official member of the DMO Alliance, but at that time, I was working with Veronica at the San Diego Tourism Authority. And as an outsider of this, watching her do this, we were all like, what are you doing? Like, we were like eager to see what was happening. And if you know Veronica at all, if she starts something, she finishes it and blows it out of the water. So so there's no doubt that this was going to be something substantial. But essentially, we're all salespeople. There is an underlying competition that we are all kind of raised to understand. So when Veronica and Susie K started really collaborating together and pulling in other destinations, it was something that, at least within our jurisdiction, within the state, we hadn't seen something to this degree yet. And then for it to see it really, expand and strengthen the way it has, it's kind of been a really wonderful thing to witness.
Yeah, that's something really unique and special. I don't think any other states are doing something similar. And I wonder if it's because maybe some destinations or some states think that this is the role of the state tourism office. So, Visit California. So can you explain how is this different from the role that state DMO would play for the benefit of the other DMOs?
Absolutely. That's a great question, because that does come up to a certain degree. If I can take one kind of step back there and give a little bit of the origin of this program, the objective of this program. Visit California is a well-oiled leisure tourism marketing organization. That has been the focus for the 30 years the organization has been in operation to drive tourism down to the state. Group business wasn't a sector that the organization focused on. Kind of mentioning how I mentioned that earlier, there's somewhat of a competitive undertone to this. There's hard ROI that comes with group business, and that just wasn't Visit California's place. So then this really only came to be from a unified ask of many of our destinations throughout the state coming out of the pandemic. As you know, California was closed when all other states were welcoming group business. So we saw states across the U.S. taking those opportunities with our customers that we weren't able to take at that time. So when we were able to start to welcome group back, these destinations need to get that message out as quickly and as widely as possible that California is open, that we are here ready to welcome you back. So with that, understanding our lane was really the first place that we really needed to focus on. When you look at the overall tourism, and I say tourism, but that includes groups. So the overall sort of visitor ecosystem. You have Brand USA at the top, then you have Visit California, then DMOs, destinations and CVBs, and then our stakeholders, the hoteliers, the attractions and whatnot. And each level of that ecosystem needs to work, cohesively together to essentially bring our consumers, our meeting planners into down the funnel to bring that business into those hotels, into those convention centers, getting the people into our destinations. So understanding what the destinations, the DMOs do, that interaction with the customers, that lead generation, that lead management and customer management, that wasn't going to be our lane. That wasn't going to benefit the destinations. What we needed to do with Visit California was utilize and leverage what instruments that we already had in place, what strategies we already had in place to expand awareness of California. And that's what we did. So we did that through a very robust media campaign. We've done that through trade shows, events, any sort of engagements. creating these platforms so that Veronica, Karen, the California DMO Alliance can utilize these platforms to launch themselves, meet those customers, bring that business back into the destination. So with that, I partner with them quite a bit because I try to develop those platforms that they can then utilize and amplify their efforts.
Yeah, it really feels like Visit California is that umbrella organization, right? So they're going out and marketing to all of our customers. And then we are the industry professionals that are meeting face to face with the customers, right? We're the storytellers of our destination, and we get to have those personal relationships with the owner of our restaurants, the owners of our hotels and venues, right? So when Visit California does these great marketing ads and a planner is like, oh, maybe I will consider California. And then they connect with us from the DMO level. We're the ones that kind of get to take them over the finish line.
You know, if there was a silver lining to that pandemic, obviously, to a certain extent, this meetings division of Visit California was born out of that. And obviously we were as well. It almost eradicated the silos of the cities. You know, we all kind of homogenized together and worked together for the greater good to really, truly heal the economic impact of the state from what we had gone through. And that kind of spirit is really has really stayed with us at the DMO Alliance to continue to keep that impact within the state of California. And we rely so much on Visit California for you know, their outreach and their budget, if you will, too. I mean, the commercials are so cool and they are so reflective of the spirit of California. I mean, it's so different from San Diego all the way to San Francisco. There is so much in between. And we really are, you know, we really are the energy that they exude in those commercials. And it's just, it's a fun collaboration. It's just, I'm proud to be collaborating with them.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate you saying that because I do get a lot of feedback on the commercials. And even though, you know, that is really trying to, you know, create that awareness to our consumer, our leisure traveler to come to California. It's a big decision factor for meeting planners, because at the end of the day, you know, that meeting, that conference, that convention is only going to be as successful as how many of the attendees come to it. Well, those attendees are consumers. They're the ones who are watching this commercial. So when they're thinking about, am I going to go to this convention this year? Am I going to go to this conference? Being mindful of their own budgets and their, you know, everything going on in their personal lives. Oh, I'm excited to go to California. I'm excited to go to Los Angeles, San Diego, Napa Valley, because I just saw this commercial from Visit California. And Veronica's very right. And she makes a great point. This beautiful outcoming of this program that I kind of just sit back and just revel in sometimes is that California umbrella that was created. And the destinations have all just so graciously, you know, fallen under that and know that there's a benefit to that. Destinations that maybe don't necessarily always need that. You know, we've got some very big destinations, some, you know, some of those destinations that just get global attention. San Diego, Los Angeles, our gateways, you know, San Francisco being that, Sacramento, where Veronica is now, gets great attention nationwide. Everyone has a different personality in these destinations. But at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, we're California. And it's really something special to see. And you know what? That customer recognizes that. That customer knows that there's just, you know, Veronica's got that customer's back. If it doesn't work for Sacramento, well, you might call Karen or might call your friends, you know, in San Diego or in San Francisco. And they feel that and they respond to that really well.
I know we had an earlier episode titled Working with Your Neighbor, I believe it was, and it was with Milwaukee and Green Bay, and they kind of talked about the same thing, but there was no structure to date on that communication between, you know, neighboring DMOs and kind of lifting up each other. But really the same sentiment is that by lifting each other up and working with each other, we create a stronger brand as a whole, and a stronger experience for everyone, whether that be on the visitor side or the group side. And Rob, I love what you were just talking about, all the attention, because there's going to be a lot of attention on California in the coming years. So how has this structure and this alliance helped prepare you guys for all that's coming in the future?
That's we've got a lot going on in California. I think that this is a blessing, but also something to always be mindful of. And when I'm thinking through strategy, is there's always a spotlight in California, and we want to make sure that that spotlight is always positive. And sometimes we get some interesting takes, coming through media perception. But at the end of the day, everybody's always interested what's happening in California. When we look at some of these big things that are coming to the state, I think we kind of approach each one in a unique situation. Let's take the Olympics, for example. When, of course, that this is going to bring a certain amount of leisure travelers who are coming to the game, but really actually it brings a lot of locals that are going to come to these games. What we can do with this is leverage all of this exposure and get California brand out there, get people, the millions of people who are watching the Olympics, who are thinking about the Olympics, are now going to see California everywhere. From a group perspective, I got to say, this is an incredibly valuable spotlight, because we're going to have updated infrastructures. We're going to have updated event venues. We're going to look at some of these facilities that are being used for these gatherings in ways that maybe we never have before. Sustainability is such an important factor when it comes to California, and so much so that I think we actually need to brag about all the policies, procedures, and resources that we have that support sustainability. We're going to actually get to see that through the Olympics, through FIFA, through the in the Super Bowls that we've been hosting too. So with everything coming into California, that extra attention is only going to do great things for our sector with the conference and meetings sector.
Well, I imagine having that alliance too helps, because when this extra attention comes, there might be opportunities that you guys can identify might be better fits for other cities, and you already have a process of communication to support that with each other.
Actually, that was more of your question, wasn't it? I just went off. I'm very excited about the Olympics. So they just get going on. Reel me in at any time. But you're absolutely right. There is nothing but benefit from the structure that's set up with the California DMO Alliance and the partnership with us. We all are constantly connected. I will reach out to anybody in the California DMO Alliance, and knowing if I need information either about their destination or some ears within their destination or another destination, I can still tap into anybody, and they're so well connected. It's just this web of information, of intel, and of support that really is just an excellent resource for me as I'm looking to support them.
And from a DMO Alliance standpoint, there is a very strong internal dialogue that goes on between us as well, because obviously so many of our cities, Carlsbad, we're near Trussell's, and where the surfing is going to take place, and Long Beach, where swimming is going to take place, and then where all of the international houses are going to be placed. So we all do talk and keep each other apprised. And there is this really specific value to having a DMO with someone who can be dedicated to this on a group level. The LA 28 has its own machine. They have their own contracted blocks. That whole thing runs on its own. But there's also the in conjunction with groups that come in. So our kind of boots on the ground are super important to our buyers, because we can translate what's going on, what areas are going to be affected, where's there going to be opportunities to place your particular program as it relates to the Olympics. So there's a lot of value, but we share a lot of that internally on our official Google Doc, literally, as simple as that sounds, but it's the way we talk to each other. And, so we're on a more organic boots on the ground, where Rob is on the overall, state being affected by the Olympics. So,
and Karen makes a great point to that too. With from a group perspective, with the Olympics coming in here, there's there's some things that we need to watch when it comes to group demand that's going to be around those Olympics. In fact, we just held our Visit California Outlook Forum earlier this week, and we had the organizational leader for Visit Paris there, and she gave us some insights, some learnings from this last summer's Olympics. First of all, as they referenced overseas MICE, the significance of the MICE market, of the meeting event spaces for all visitors, from the different national organizing committees to media to corporate sponsors and whatnot. So much of their meeting and event space was utilized. But then they also did see on the front end of that a drop in demand, because so many, and I see this on the leisure side visitors, but also those meeting and event planners that were saying, you know what, there might be too much going on those months ahead of time. This might not be the best time to come to Paris. And then also, if there's going to be any increase in hotel prices, room nights, meeting space rentals and whatnot. So there was a little bit of a dip in that demand, and that wasn't necessarily the case. That was a little bit of a misperception. And I think that hearing these insights gave us a great opportunity to get ahead of that messaging, make sure that Karen, Veronica, and all of the California DMO alliances are working with those customers to say, listen, this is when the Olympics are. Make sure your group's going to have an amazing time in the greater Los Angeles area, which can also have a ripple effect into all of Southern California and throughout the state through June, up until the Olympics, are here. And then you get to say that you were part of, being in Southern California the same summer as the Olympics. So there's definitely some nuances that we want to work through collectively, and that the DMO Alliance will be key to that success.
In Sacramento, I have one resort style property, the Westin Riverfront, and it's a beautiful hotel, right? But if a customer is looking for a resort style property, or maybe something that is more, we'll just stay with the resort style property, right? So if a customer is looking for a resort style property and my Westin doesn't have availability, well, I really don't have another true resort style hotel, right? So with my partners in San Diego, or, anywhere else within
Orange County,
Napa,
Huntington Beach,
Orange
yeah.
County, right? They all have those resort style hotels. So I can make that recommendation over to them. So instead of losing those customers that are interested in coming to California, we are referring those out to stay within the state as a whole. Yeah. So, specifically in these scenarios where California will see high demand and impact, partnering with your DMO, we're able to see what is happening in the destination, what is causing compression in the state, and whether that is able to shift you or make a recommendation to another destination in California that is more aligned with your needs. So I really feel like that's one of the great benefits of the California DMO Alliance is we also have these educational moments on our monthly calls where we talk about what our destination is great at, or what we do well, or our properties or new venues, right? So we all kind of have a better understanding of what California can support as a whole.
I think that's great. And, one of my questions that I'm just sitting here thinking is, we've talked a lot about, the bigger, more popular areas of California, but I feel like this could be really beneficial to those smaller DMOs who don't have large budgets and maybe can't welcome, huge conventions, but still want to bring in meetings and events in their destination. So how does the DMO Alliance help support those smaller DMOs in maybe more rural areas?
That's a good question, though. Because we have very, small market and, massive market. You go to visit Walnut Creek to Los Angeles or San Francisco. The visit Walnut Creek person may be wearing a lot of hats versus Los Angeles that has many departments. So, we're able to learn from them by all the hats they wear. Because we don't touch marketing, we don't touch membership, we don't touch all of the various silos in our own organization, whereas they do. So there can be really a valuable exchange of learning between us. perhaps their benefit of learning from a larger one is kind of the greater maybe information flow that the bigger DMOs get. So we talk about those things. But what I love about our organization is it's very organic. It's very mom and pop. We all talk to each other. It's very safe. We bring up challenges, and those challenges could be completely different from a small market to a big market, but we talk about them. Nobody's more important than each other. So I love that.
Yeah, I think we also, one of the benefits is we talk a lot about trade shows and the events that we're
Mhm.
attending. So, from a smaller DMO, if your budget is smaller, you only have so much funding to go to shows. And obviously, from your stakeholders, they want to see that ROI, right? So, there we as a collective are able to have those conversations, talk about what your ROI is from a trade show, is from a conference. Did you actually get RFPs from there? And really have those open and honest conversations. So we're putting our dollars where there is going to be that return for our stakeholders, whether that's the restaurants, hotels, venues, because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is bring that business back to the destination. And we don't just attend trade shows for the fun of it, right? You really have to have that ROI. So I think that's both small and large. That is one of the benefits of being a part of the alliance, is being able to get that feedback about trade shows and where you want to spend your dollars.
Well, I think there's clearly a lot of value here for, any size DMO. I think that internal collaboration really makes a difference, whether that be for internal communications or outward search and support for those groups and customers coming in. How would you give advice for another state looking to set up something similar?
I'm going to let Veronica answer that since she started this. She'll have a little more insight onto that. I'm riding on her coattails.
Well, so I think what is unique for us is we started during the pandemic, and so there was such a unique need for that companionship, that partnership, right? And so that collaboration is so deeply entrenched into the DNA of who we are as the California DMO Alliance. For someone else another state to emulate this, you really have to get those leaders on board that are forward thinking, because as Rob mentioned, we are all salespeople. We are all competing for the business that is out there, but there is those forward thinking leaders in our industry that are willing to collaborate and partner. So if you as a leader feel like this is something that would be beneficial for you or your state, or maybe your region within a state, find the other people that are like you and kind of go from there, or reach out to us, right? We have somewhat of a playbook because we've been in existence now for 6 years. And we'd be happy to chat a little bit more, but it really is first and foremost finding those leaders and then kind of starting that conversation and building from there.
And if I could actually add to that, again, just I have the history with the DMO Alliance. I think that, and as Veronica mentioned this, the launching of the alliance really started as a West Coast alliance, and I think what really further defined it and gave it such a strong structure was when it was pulled into just be the California DMO Alliance. And I think part of that was because of Visit California launching this program. The timing of it all just really aligned.
Yeah.
Because now the DMO Alliance has this California brand that through our efforts is getting pushed out to our customers across the US. And it just made sense for the DMO Alliance at that time to say, well, let's pull this in. Let's make this just a California alliance and make sure that we're able to partner with Visit California and kind of fall under that California umbrella and utilize what they're able to amplify for everyone's benefit.
I agree with what Veronica said too, with regard to our leadership. We're very fortunate that we do have insightful leaders that understand the value of it, because there truly is a value to it. And none of us would be able to do these jobs, especially when you're on the board and you've got some ancillary opportunities and responsibilities, that they still support us. And I do think that if another state is looking at that, every state has their own vibe. California has a very distinct vibe. Wisconsin may have a different vibe. I mean, they need to really kind of lean into what is that theme of the state, and how can they kind of collaborate and homogenize themselves together as a force, because it truly is a value to everyone involved. That's my pitch anyway for y'all.
Well, I think something that has been so true to us, and what we believe at the California DMO Alliance, is that rising tides lift all boats, right? And I feel like that has just stayed true from the moment we started to today, and with the leadership team that we have in place now. That's truly how everyone feels, and that exudes through our organization and then to our customers and the business that we're booking as well. So it's just a sentiment. That's who we are.
From the Visit California angle, from my program, everything that I'm doing has to be inclusive. I think some of the larger destinations just naturally have a little bit more resources, have larger teams, and have the capability to partner more. The program, it really sits at a national reach level, where some of our smaller destinations are more focused on the drive-in markets, the in-state markets, or West Coast. But we're very mindful of that. So I'll tell you two quick examples. One, when I joined, I partnered with an organization called CaliforniaMeetings.com. They have this great website. I actually took that over, white labeled that to be aligned with Visit California's branding, and used it as this great new platform for somewhat of a call to action from our brand advertising, taking our consumers into this new website that just gives education, high level overviews of all of our destinations within the state from a group lens, and then passes that along to each of the destinations. There's a great way to do the handoff there. When this was launched, we had about 50 destinations on there. Most of them I actually wasn't even aware had group offerings. Since it launched, we're at over 60 California destinations. Then you see smaller destinations. Conejo Valley had reached out over the summertime and was able to join. Concord has been able to join. We say Walnut Creek, and that's a great example. But as this website got known, all these smaller destinations had raised their hand and said, "Hey, Rob, I'm doing something here. How can I get involved?" Well, first of all, the website's a great way. And I get on the phone and I talk through the strategy with each of them and say, who's your customer? What's your market? What are your offerings? And what are you looking to do? What's your strategy? Here's where you can really fit in with Visit California's programming, where you're going to benefit the most. How often I refer those new destinations, with new group focuses, to the California DMO Alliance, and I explain to it what the objectives of the alliance are, and it's just like, it is such a relief for some of these smaller destinations that feel like they're going at it alone. And then I find out that all of a sudden they have this incredible network of support that genuinely wants every one of the destination members to succeed. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just been this blessing that I have another direction to offer these small destinations as they're starting to establish themselves. And then the other example I was going to say is, one of the parts of this strategy that's been really well received by the destinations is we do in-market road shows. So, we've kind of peppered the U.S. over the last few years, going to really some of these planner-saturated markets, bring typically about 20 to 25 California destinations with me. And it's just a destination showcasing going into these the backyards of our meeting planners. Yes, the larger destinations, and even some of those really great, mid-sized destinations in Napa Valleys, the Lake Tahoe's, Greater Palm Springs, that might catch the meeting planner's attention, say, I'm going to this event. But then we have all these cool new to them destinations that maybe they've not partnered with or heard of, that they then get to interact with. And so many times I have the smaller destinations that have new group focus that come out of these events and say, are just overwhelmed with appreciation that because of some of these larger destinations, they were able to also meet, these great new customers and get their name into the industry.
I find that all super fascinating. So Jen Ann and I both are we're meeting and events enthusiasts. We have a lot of clients that's a lot of what we help them do is market their destinations to meeting planners. And so and we have clients of all sizes, right? We have really big ones who don't, their names are already out there, but then we have smaller ones who they have different needs and different things to offer meeting planners. And so that was really, really interesting to hear from you all on how the Alliance is helping them and just new strategies for smaller and larger DMOs. It's amazing.
That's
I
awesome.
think connection is like obviously one of the most human things. And I think, this alliance provides a place for connection that the planner or the clientele can feel. Because if I'm interacting with Visit Sacramento and I can feel the love that they have for Los Angeles and how much they want to support them, I think that leaves not only a great taste in my mouth for Visit Sacramento, but California as a whole. So I think, beyond just the tactical, takeaways, it also provides such a great brand standard for the state of California as well. So I love hearing this.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Is in a selfish way, I want to make sure that my customers are taken care of. So we are bringing everyone together to level set and really make sure that our level of customer service is high. So it doesn't matter if you are working with a DMO in Northern California or one in Southern California, you're going to get the same experience because we have monthly calls and we're all talking about best practices, right? So if you're not, the customers are going to know, well, oh, I worked with so and so in Northern California. It was a little bit different, but that's not what customers see when they get to partner with DMOs in California. We all have that high level of standard because we hold each other accountable.
We're a friendly group of people. We play really well in the sandbox together. And I think really that, going back to the commercials that Visit California does, if you think back on those, they are so warm and so friendly and so energized and so positive that it feels great to really live that within both of our organizations. And I sure feel it even just in our little California DMO Alliance. We're a happy group of people.
Excellent. I just have one more fun question that I wanted to ask you all. So obviously we're all California enthusiasts here, but what is your favorite hidden gem in your destination or in the state that people might not know about?
I'll start.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I have only been in Sacramento for 10 months. And one of the biggest surprises was the culinary scene. We have a phenomenal food and beverage scene in Sacramento. We have hosted events that are specifically geared to farm to fork, Terra Madres America. We have 2 Michelin star restaurants and 9 Michelin named restaurants as well, right? So the culinary scene in Sacramento is phenomenal, and that would be something for me that I was most pleasantly surprised about. And I think other people would be surprised about as well if they haven't been to Sacramento in a while or have never been here.
For me, in my destination, we oversee 5 different regions of Los Angeles, so there's a lot to choose from. But in all honesty, one of my new favorite areas, I should say, if I can sound a little biased, which I'm not supposed to, but our downtown has become so vibrant because there is such a residential component now in Los Angeles in the downtown area. Years ago, Monday through Friday, it was vibrant, and then the weekends and the evenings, it was done. That's not the case anymore. So it has a really good vibe there. We've just been fortunate to have so much growth and so much new product that's come in, and new museums that are being built, and that that new people living there, that it has a real warmth to it now. And I love the vibe of our downtown now, along with every other region, mind you, whoever's listening to this. But the downtown is most specific in my mind because it has gone through such a renaissance over the last 10 years, and more so within the last 5 years. So, And I've been with the Bureau for 10 years, so I've seen the kind of growth of it, if you will. So that's my latest one anyway.
I thoughtfully stood back, not to be a gentleman, only be a gentleman to Veronica and Karen, but because I can't just give one. And that's not just coming from a state perspective.
You've got a
that's just
tough one.
because of me. But so I'm just going to briefly run through this, but I'll say I'm a San Diego guy. I lived my entire life in San Diego, and it's tough to beat, Southern California as far as just the vibe and the culture, and I always knew every single day that I lived there that I was fortunate to live where I did. Since I moved to Sacramento over 3 years ago when I joined Visit California, the second place I've ever lived, one of the things is I didn't know Los Angeles as well as I do now. Because when you don't always go to your neighbor, you don't always just take the 2-hour drive up there and get to know the different neighborhoods. You go to the hot spots, you'll go up to Sunset Boulevard and Santa Monica Boulevard and do some of the cool spots. But I've gotten into Los Angeles so much more now. And to Karen's point, downtown, there's just some beautiful areas of downtown. I stayed 2 weeks ago in Koreatown area and got to know that area. So there's just this gem in one of the largest cities in the world. Right, that was in my backyard. Now I just got to take a quick flight down the state to go and explore. When I moved to the Sacramento area, getting to know Northern California, which is just so different than Southern California, was overwhelming in such a good way. You could listen to me, and you won't have to listen to me. I could tell you all day about the trees. It just changes you. I'm in an area now where the redwoods hit the Pacific Ocean. This is the most picturesque scenery that some of the most picturesque scenery that we can offer. 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting in Healdsburg, which is north of Sonoma County, and one of the most beautiful towns I'd ever seen that I had never visited. But I'll tell you the coolest thing that I think that I've done when I knew that I was going to be good in Northern California, and that I always encourage people to do, is just within the Sacramento area, we have the American River that comes out of the Sierras. And I sold my paddle boards when I was leaving San Diego, thinking I wouldn't need them, and I had to buy new paddle boards up here just to go down the American River, the home of where the first nugget of gold was found for the gold rush, and that's when I knew, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. It was absolutely stunning. So every day I'm finding a new gem because I'm making myself really embrace being in Northern California, and it's just endless surprises.
We're big California enthusiasts. We work with a few California clients, and we use a few of them as daily inspiration for our marketing. So
Yes.
I just think
Shout
it's
out Visit Napa Valley. I love
We
Visit
love
Napa
it.
Valley's website. It's so good.
But I love how it is so diverse in one state. It's so cool to see. Well, I'm excited. I know we'll hopefully be visiting sometime in the future and checking it all off our bucket list.
You
But
have
we
an
always
invitation
welcome.
from all of us.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, anything else anyone else wants to share before we wrap up? Anything we didn't hit on?
Thank you so much.
We love this conversation.
Yeah, this was
Great seeing you
wonderful.
all.
Yeah, this was great, and it gave us an opportunity to really kind of talk about and lay that foundation that there's a lot of great things coming to the state. Collectively, we're moving forward together, and group business is just, as we're seeing in many more of our destinations are realizing, group business is this constant stream of healthy visitation that's coming in, and so many of our destinations rely on group business, and through the DMO Alliance's efforts and my program's efforts, not just to our customers, but within our industry, have raised that awareness of the significance of meetings and events.
Thank you guys so much for your time today and for this beautiful conversation. And I hope we can all connect more soon and hear what's happening. So that was an amazing episode. I cannot wait to get some feedback. I think that there will be a lot of takeaways for a lot of states and a lot of DMOs to hopefully put into practice. But one of my favorite questions is always hearing what people love about their city. So Kaylee, I know we asked about hidden gems. Will you give us a hidden gem from your city?
Ooh, okay. This is kind of a tough one, but I guess I'm gonna go for, so from the St. Pete, Tampa area, and we have a lot of fantastic beaches, in my opinion, some of the best in Florida. But most people, they know Clearwater Beach or they know St. Pete Beach, and Indian Rocks Beach is my personal favorite beach. It is a lot less crowded, and especially in the summer and spring break time. So highly recommend checking that out. It's just south of Clearwater. It's not far at all, but it's just a little more lax, laid back, less touristy than Clearwater with the big pier and all of the big box restaurants. Yeah, Indian Rocks Beach is definitely my Florida hidden gem. How about you, Jenyan?
Well, I am currently living in Charleston, South Carolina, but as of next week / whenever you hear this episode, I will be living in Nashville. I'm so excited to move. While I'll miss my beaches, I might just have to come visit you. I'm really excited because, Nashville does have a lot of lush greenery and there's a really great arts and culture scene. So my hidden gem recommendation would be to check out more of East Nashville. That's a lot more, there's a lot of, local activities there. There's a lot of cool coffee shops. There's a bar called the Underdog, and that is where a lot of artists actually go to play their own sets. So not cover music, but kind of, they step off Broadway, play some originals. And it's just cool to kind of see how the locals live. So I would definitely recommend checking out East Nashville.
Can't wait to come visit you. I've not been to Nashville in like 8 years, so super exciting. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I hope that there are ways that you guys are just inspired to work with your neighboring DMOs. I think that is the ultimate takeaway from this conversation for me, is that we're all in this together, and we're all in one state, all in one country, if you're listening from the US. And we all have to think less about competing with one another and more about collaborating with one another and finding ways that we can continue to help share and grow. And I think that is a growing theme in the industry as a whole that I'm just hearing a lot from a lot of different destinations. So I think this is very timely as well.